I'm Mary Parker, and welcome to A Dose of Science. I'm once again joined by Dr. Peter Matos, consulting physician for Charles River, to go over some key considerations for COVID as of now, winter 2022. Think of this as a state of the COVID report. Welcome, Dr. Matos.
Thank you, Mary. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you back. So, something I am very curious about is the possibility of a universal vaccine. Can you talk about that possibility and what would be the difference from a regular vaccine?
Sure. The Army at Walter Reed has actually been working on kind of a universal coronavirus vaccine since SARS 1 in 2003. Last year in December 2021, the Army announced that their universal vaccine was going to go to clinical trials. Now, there are billions of coronaviruses, but this particular vaccine has 24 spike proteins versus one spike protein in our current vaccines. So theoretically, it's 24 times better than our current vaccines, but our current vaccines are quite good and they've held up quite well against five different variants. Coronavirus is really here to stay. It's something we've got to live with until it becomes endemic.
The other kind of top news story is what is the status of antiviral therapy? I understand they can be very labor intensive to produce. So, where do you see that going in the next few months?
It's very labor intensive to make antivirals. So there is actually a Health and Human Service website. You can go and put in your zip code and you can see, how many doses are available. And there are doses available throughout the US, but they're not as available as I would like them to be. But I think as the months go on, I think those antivirals will become more and more available. And I think those antivirals will also help us bridge the gap if we get variants that make our vaccines less effective. And antivirals can also protect the unvaccinated too, and help lower the death rate there.
So, the most recent news report, like I literally read this today, was about an intranasal vaccine coming out of India. Are there benefits to getting a vaccine that mimics how you would naturally contract the disease?
Yes. So there's a real famous vaccine. There was the Salk and the Sabin vaccine. The Salk vaccine was for polio. That was an injection. And the Sabin vaccine was intranasal. And the benefit of an intranasal vaccine is you don't have to use a shot. It's less labor intensive. You don't necessarily have to be a medical provider to know how to, spray something up someone's nose. And it's much easier to vaccinate folks. It uses what's called IgA, which is mucosal antibodies. And so, specifically with the Omicron variant, where it really likes to hide in the upper airway passages, a nasal vaccine may offer, some better protection. And with the nasal vaccine, it's what we call a live attenuated virus, meaning that it will stimulate immune memory, but it will not necessarily infect someone. So these IgA ones, if I get it in my nose and I'm out in public, there's also a possibility of me, basically spreading the vaccine to others and also, vaccinating your population that way.
That would be great. So, finally, we have been talking about a new normal from basically the beginning of the pandemic. So, what do you think that could look like, and when will it finally be achieved?
I think that's really, really hard. I think, just when we think COVID's thrown us the last curveball, it throws us another curveball. We need to get to a state where we don't have so many cases. So, one person infecting 12 or 24 with an Omicron variant or an Omicron subvariant, that's not stability. We need to be, one person infects one person, or maybe one person infects one and a half people. The problem is the virus continues to mutate. The more cases, the more mixing, the more variants. And so, as an emerging infectious disease expert, that's what concerns me. So, we've got to get the caseload down to really stabilize the pandemic. Once we do that, and we do that through vaccinations, antivirals, and the virus hopefully mutating in a direction that makes it, less deadly and less infectious, then I think we will reach a steady state. When that is, I'm hoping sometime between June and October of this year, maybe sooner. I hope sooner, but I don't know. And that's the honest answer. But in the meantime, we've got the tools to keep ourselves, safe and open and to mitigate risk. That's masking, that's vaccinations, boosters, and the use of antiviral medications.
Well, we always appreciate the honest answer more than the one we want to hear, for sure. And I think that part of going towards the new normal will be the under five vaccination. And like you said, bringing down caseload, because I think what we've learned more than anything else during this pandemic is that healthcare workers are not an unlimited resource and they are getting burned out. And we got to do everything we can to help them with their jobs.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a really good point. Um, Even though Omicron overall is less infectious and less deadly than some of the other COVID variants, it's a volume problem. If I have 1 million cases rather than 100,000 cases, even if it's mild, that's 10 times more cases. And that means people will show up to the hospital. You will strain the health system. The good news is this round, we're about half the capacity in the ICUs than we were last January, February at this time. So I think that's good news, but I also think it's a cautious tale, right? This round, it was less infectious, less deadly. There's nothing that says that the next round will be the same way. So I think it's just, I'm cautiously optimistic. Get vaccinated, get boosted, wear your mask, help each other out, be kind to each other, and we will get through this.
Vigilance and cautious optimism. I feel like that's a good combination for us right now.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us once again. As always, it's been incredibly informative and also a little comforting. So thank you for that.
You're welcome, Mary, and take care, everybody.